Okay. Well, didn't stream on Monday. I was planning on it, but I got back late from an appointment, and, well, the morning got away from me. So instead, we're going to do just more today. That's all. Let's see here. So, the goal today, it's actually, well, in terms of things that I got done off camera, book detection is basically done. So now, in fact, the app's starting to feel pretty darn solid. I actually figured out, so a while ago, I had done a bunch of optimizations in the back end. And one of the things I had done was, like, I had added all of these different, like, settings. I enabled all these settings, which seemed to make it faster, especially on local, running on Windows. And I guess something in here broke something on Android, and I don't know what it was. And so the other day I was wondering, I was like, why is it that every time I OCR something on the headset, it's just like gibberish, like absolute garbage? And at first I thought, okay, let me implement this. So what this was doing was, we take a frame, but before we go through the whole OCR process and before we do a lot of the heavy lifting, in, well, I thought maybe less than a second, and probably could be less than a second. Right now it's about a second and a half. We can know what the text region looks like for where we detected a page in the book. And then what is its rough shape? Is it roughly rectangular, square, rectangular shape, or is it more of a blob? And if it's a blob, you know, that's more likely that the book's skewed. The book's being held at an angle, which is not going to OCR well. So let's not even bother. Let's just fail quickly. And so that's what I thought the issue was. I thought the reason why I was getting garbage was because the OCR was going too fast, and what it was trying to OCR was the book not being ready. I was holding it at a bad angle. And then, of course, it was taking so long to OCR that, like, it just wasn't finding it. But then I realized, like, even if I held the book steady for, like, 3 minutes so that I could get around to the next round of OCR, it was still garbage. And that's when I figured out something was up with these settings. So I turned them all off, and then things started working again in the headset. So I think I figured out the right cocktail there. I'm sure there's some other settings in here that are good, but honestly, it didn't seem like it affected performance much either. Things are still pretty fast. So for the moment, I'm going to leave these in here to comment it out. I may turn some of them on later, but right now they just didn't seem to improve performance that much. And I still have this issue of, for whatever reason, no matter what I do, OCR is slow. I assume there is something I can do to speed it up, but I'm not worrying about that just yet. So right now, OCR is one of the slow steps. And I'm solving that by doing some chunking of the... Yeah, chunking of things. Any case, so this got done. So now what happens is we fail quickly. In fact, it's kind of this game plan that I was implementing, which was I switched to block-based detection instead of MSCR for detecting text on the page, which is a lot faster. That's why we're able to, in like in a second and a half, know whether or not we have something that's going to OCR potentially. And then we go do some extra processing and then ship it off to OCR. Take a sip of coffee. So I did that, and then I had a bunch of bugs with it. So I fixed those bugs. I replaced MSCR. I added some fast fail stuff. So if we detect that the page is too far away from the camera. I guess that was the other thing I realized. Running the test suite. Where's our test suite? Let's just run it again real quick. So I added a new test along the way. But ultimately what I figured out was, you know, I had a good test, the test that named good, that I thought was going to be the highest performing test. And then there was the shaky leg test, the test where I was shaking my leg while taking the image. And somehow that always performed better. And after doing a bunch of static image analysis to try to figure out what is better about these two tests, what I finally figured out was that shaky is, well, two things. So I was able to get good up to 90%. I've disabled dewarping, so now it's back to 80. So the reason why the good test isn't above 90 is because of dewarping. There is a little bit of skew on the book, and so there's like kind of a portion of the page that doesn't OCR well, and that's why we're getting an 80 instead of a 90. And then also, even if that was fixed, we'd be getting probably 89, 90 is where we would be. It would still be lower than shaky, and the reason why is shaky was closer to the camera. So when I looked at all these different test scenarios, shaky was the one that was closest to the camera, and that seemed to be the core thing that was driving its high score. So I decided, okay, well, if the page is too far away, let's reject it, fail quickly, and go right back to the loop of grabbing new images to OCR. Same with too much skew. Again, like, let's check to see how square is the region that we detected, and if it's not very square, then that means there must be skew to it, therefore reject it. And so between these two things now, what ends up happening is you open the book in front of you, it immediately, I mean, it's every 2 seconds now, it is grabbing a new cluster of images. It's taking one of those images, doing this computation, and then very quickly it's confirming, hey, like, this doesn't look like good text, so fail, loop back around. And so we're doing that every 2 seconds. And so then once you're holding the book steady for about 2 seconds, we end up accepting it. We go through OCR. And so I haven't anecdotally have confirmed this, but it does seem like, this new test I added, this one, was caught randomly. This isn't the result of me doing a bunch of tests on the headset and then picking and choosing the best one. It was like the very first one that I succeeded at OCRing, that, like, after doing some of the fast fail stuff, I dumped its images, I took a look at it, I ran it locally to see what its score would be, and this is the score I got. So, and I think if dewarp is turned on, or actually, I think dewarp helps this test. But I've turned off dewarp because it's just way too slow, and honestly, it doesn't really improve scores all that much. But this one, I think there's some other like minor tweaks I can make in the back end. I've actually seen this get to 96. So that's pretty crazy. Like, this one I've seen getting up around 94-ish. This one I've seen getting to 96. So I do think, and again, with good, actually, that's a good question. Like, would the current suite reject it? Because I think I have a log statement where we say that we would reject it, but then we just don't. Let's see. So its page size is that. Its rectangularity is that. No, we would accept it. So it's rectangular enough, and it's big enough that we end up accepting it. Okay, so there is a world in which, right now, we would OCR something at around 80. All right, so that'll be something to fix. Because ideally, like, I guess maybe this scenario would get rejected. And I could... See, this is what? 353, 0.95 for shaky. What about... So line frames, 1.7, yeah, that one's small, 0.97. So very square, but very far away. The crop one, this one's also far away and not very square. Okay, so, and we also failed to do alignment, which, who knows, maybe the reason why we failed to do alignment is because of these things as well. In any case, for a number of reasons, that test just is a bad test. And then here's the new one. Whoa, 401. 0.90. See, it's not very square, actually. But I guess I could be a little more selective on the distance. So 401. 302. 3.5. So I could say, hey, look, 3.25. You got to be 3.25 or bigger, which would actually end up. Actually, align frames. Where are you at? Yeah, see, align frames is far away, but it has high rectangularity. Okay, so maybe I could do some sort of combined thing, right? Have I could normalize this between 0 and 1, normalize this between 0 and 1, add a weighting to them, and provide a combined score, and then use the combined score. And so this one 83 versus 80. The reason why this this is further away than this one, but its score is better because it's very square, very square. So I could be a little more tolerant of far away images if they're very square, or be a little more tolerant of unsquare images if they are very close. But anyway, if I did that, if just that one little settings change, this would get rejected, this would get rejected, this would be accepted, rejected. So really it would just be these two that would be accepted. That'd be pretty easy to do. So anyway, I think this is just about done. Yeah, I turned off deskew since we're rejecting for non-square images. And then I tried bringing back 3 frames. It didn't really help. I might try something there again, because it's pretty easy to do 3 frames instead of 2. Doesn't really add a performance hit, not really. But doesn't really seem to help. The one final thing I do want to test is left and right camera merging. But that's kind of a heavy lift, and that's not what I promised I'd be working on this week. So that's going to get tabled for the moment. Book detection's done. So this was basically that whole hey, can we fail fast, check for square, reject. So that's all good. We're actually detecting the book. So I think what I want to work on today is rendering words by bbox. And what I mean by that, we'll get to. So render individual words is basically what we're doing. So we're rendering individual words. Score image by quality is done. Fix cropping issue. Dewarping bugs. Okay. None of that matters. And if we get that done, I might experiment with render bbox around book. Basically, right now, we kind of just immediately throw a big, massive book in your hand. I might want to try to do something that actually fits the shape of the book in your hand. All right, let's get to work. So yeah, I've actually seen this get to 96, and right now it's at 95, pretty much. And the speeds are back down to, in this case, 3 seconds, but on the headset it's slower. Today we're going to play in Godot land, and we're not going to do C++ or anything like that. So what does it mean to render bboxes? If we look at the script and we go to, maybe it's game state. Yeah, so here's some experimental code. So when we're done OCRing, we get this page object. And an OCR page is made up of lines, made up of an array of lines. And those lines are made up of an array of words. And each word has its text, but also its bbox, which is an array of integers. So what I want to do, right now I'm just shoving text. And page text updated emitted. So we update the text here in game state, and then we trigger a signal, which gets picked up here, page text updated. And then this just sets the text. And that is a label. This is gonna get interesting. So maybe I don't want to touch this. Let's start by disabling that. Let's disable the signal. And what I'll probably do is add a script. What do I want to call it? Because I'd rather not. So that's book text. Fine, let's call it page text. If I succeed here, this will replace book text anyway, so I'll end up deleting that. All right, so we have that. Yeah, it's gonna have a page number and everything like that as well. That's okay. All right, what can I do manually here? All right, let's do func ready. Self dot add child as a node. Okay, and then we'll do for I int in range 10. Can I do that? We could do. Hey, Scroll, how you doing? Let's see here. WBU. I don't know that acronym. So I need a node, which I guess should be a label 3D. Oh, what about you? I should have known that one. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing good. Didn't stream on Monday, sadly, but getting into it today. And I'm actually feeling really good. I think the app is starting to actually work. The headset actually has text that appears quickly, and it's above 90% accurate on the OCR. So I feel like I'm starting to be able to move on away from heavy back-end OpenCV work. Starting to feel that way. All right, let's just do var label is, what is that again? Label 3D. Label 3D. And we'll do label 3D. How do you create a new node? Dot new. Yeah, but how does... Shouldn't it tell me... Yeah, fine. Dot new, and we'll do label dot text equals... Fine, we'll just do that. And then we will add child for our label. And then I wonder if we can position this. How can I test this immediately? I think that would probably be show that by default there, and then yeah. If I just run it, how does this work? Oh, here we go. Okay, well, that didn't work. Well, print I. So we did print those. I wonder if we lost our label. Okay, what if I do that and run that again? How did I do this? I don't know what I did. Oh, there we go. So override the camera. So if I do, what, the remote, I should be able to see. Spent so much time in C++, I must forget how to do this. Okay, so we do have it. Got you. So if I do so that's from book text. .gd. This does not have that. Okay. And it has a font size. Well, that says font size of 90 pixels. Okay, what about this? What does this have? Okay, well, I could do label dot font size is 24, and then we'll do label dot font. So hot outside, 30 degrees C. What's my conversion on that? 30 degrees C is what again? 30 degrees C to Fahrenheit. 86 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not too bad. I did at one point have Celsius memorized in my head in terms of like internalized, like have an internal feeling for what a number feels like in Celsius. But I've since lost that for many years. So my brain thinks in Fahrenheit. That's not that hot, right? It's got to be... I mean, that's good summer weather, unless it's very muggy where you are. So label.font probably. How do you load a font? Font configuration used to display text is a font. Okay, maybe I don't need that. Let's just turn it off. Let's just disable it for now. And let's refresh that. Camera, and then there we go. Camera, and then right click. See, it's not there. I wonder. Well, I should be able to see if I just manually mess with it, right? So if I got a remote. So if I do. How do I do that? I know I can drag it over, right? So it doesn't assign it, okay. It's not hidden or anything, right? All right, one solution to this would be, one helpful solution might be to turn on our debug HUD. And now if we run it, hey, there we go. Okay, those are press button. So the debug HUD, here, let me do range 1. And let's refresh that. And I guess what I could do is, if we go to the debug HUD, go to our page 1 here, I could attach a new or existing script, right? So I should be able to we have to like type it in. File exists, it will be reused. Okay. So now that's there. So on ready, we'll just log, we'll get a new label, give it some text, set its font, and add it as a child. So if I refresh this, in the remote, we should now have, underneath the camera, the debug HUD. Which should have a label underneath of it. So it is there. Hmm. 0.05. Oh, did that? Okay, well, what's the font? Can I set the font size to be really big? All right, I don't like this. Hold on. Let's do, I don't know. Can I do that? And then this can go down here at the bottom. I thought there was a way to make this a panel within Godot. I thought they added that power recently. Embedded game on next play. Big game works. Okay, so I think that's right. So if I go there, this is there. Interesting. It is. Okay, so it's there, it's just like behind. Because it's right on it. All right, maybe I'll just leave this full screen because that's too much of a pain to like have to mess with that. Okay, so that's working, it's there, it's just font is terrible. Can I do geometry? So what is this geometry? Well, let's look at local. Here, let's kill that. So it should be, you know, I wonder if I can clone it. So can I have like a starting one? Var existing label, or like, let's call it default label. Because I am going to keep that default label forever. It's just we're going to hide and show it. So once we have text, we would do the default label.hide or whatever it is, and then replace it with something new. Let's try doing that. Get node page text. Cool. Let's do equals default label dot copy clone Godot clone node. Node.duplicate. Clone. Yeah, no. Duplicate. Great. So now I don't have to set its font or anything else like that. And in theory, I should be able to do default label dot hide. Now if we run it, there we go. So this is like too much. Can I do control? No. What about shift? Alt? Okay. Effectively like the window key or window, nope. It definitely doesn't like that. Oh, I guess the arrow keys are pretty good. Cool, so if I do... Good enough. So then I can have this floating off to the side, and I can just toggle back to it when I need to. Let's just do it that way. So what I should do is... Okay, how do I set this up? Because I don't want to have to run the VR headset to work on this. I would like to be able to just set up. But the problem is... Well, I do have Hawker files. So let's see here. So much nonsense I need to like circle back to and revisit. Yeah, so we already have these HOCR Hawker XML files. So I should be able to call this method, parse it, and basically, well, I should be able to call this then. On ready. I could just do it once on ready. And we would be good. On text scanned, where are you coming from? The scanner service. Signal. That's fine. Let me look at my test suite. How do we load a file? Okay, so I could be TDD about this, test-driven development, and write the test to do this. So in the test suite, I got a lot of things to clean up and delete. But let's see here. Yes, on ready. Specific test. Right, so I could do a dash, I could run the whole test suite, that's fine. And then build test case list. Right, so we build the test case list and then we just say run tests. Okay, where is build test case list? Maybe I will be TDD about this. Specific test. Okay, so this is very much a folder-based system. Do I really want to refactor this right now? So that's build test case list, but this is for elif filter. Otherwise, we just append it anyway. Maybe that's fine. So we go through the folder. I guess this is so if we ran all tests, it would only add the test cases that are for the folder. I'm just thinking about how I want to do this. I mean, this is the test suite, and the goal of this was that I don't think that I wanted to have test cases in this file, per se. But maybe I'll commit that sin and live with it for now. So let's just do something, right? We'll call it func test Hawker render. Do a void, and then here var file, which is file access, equals file access dot open, and we will do file access dot read. Here we go. If file. Let me, I guess, I mean, I guess I could follow this pattern, right? Because I'm doing everything file-based, file system-based, which I don't like the fact that that's how my test suite is operating now. Like, there's no such thing as these things being coded in code. Everything's in files. But maybe that's a necessary evil for the moment. Let's go with that. Fine. Let's do a new folder. We'll call it Hawker render. We'll call it the Hawker render test. And actually, let me get... Let me steal from here. I mean, that was a good test anyway, right? That's the angled one, so that should be over 94%. Okay, cool. And then it's going to be OCR hawker.xml. Yeah. Brain's a little foggy at the moment. Not thinking fully clearly. Well, I could write some pseudocode. So, I mean, obviously we would call OCR manager function, which, by the way, is going to convert string to classes, class instances. And then also, by the way, what it does is it is going to trigger game state signal for new page. Maybe that's what I want. I mean, I guess this isn't really a test, right? This is... See, I'm doing this, but... I mean, if I was doing this as an automated test, what would I be testing, right? So we would load it, it would parse it. I mean, sure, I could go validate all the class instances, have the data that they're supposed to have. But, yeah, you know, it's... What I'm testing right now is something visual, and that's not something you want in an automated test, not really. Is it hard to learn coding? I'll let you know when I finally learn how to code. And I say that as a joke, as in I think it is a lifelong thing. And the reason why it's a lifelong thing is because it's always changing. So all the things I'm doing today as a software engineer, none of this existed when I started out. But to answer your direct question, I don't think it's that hard. I think the tools are a lot easier these days. I think AI makes it very easy to learn how to code. I mean, you think about learning anything. Back in the day, way back in the day, like you would have to go to the library and then hunt around books just to figure out the right question to ask, because you didn't even know what a thing was called. Because if you didn't know what something was, you'd ask an adult. And the adults, if they didn't know what it was called, they would say, yeah, I don't know what that, you know, you're asking about something with like rocks or, you know, machinery or something like that. They'd be like, yeah, I don't know what that's called. It's a thing. So you go to the library and you look up books about cars, let's say, and you read and read and read until finally you find the term you're looking for. I don't know, carburetor or whatever the word would be. Okay, now that you know what a carburetor is, then you go and search for all new books to try to find more books that talk about that specific thing that you care about. It was a very slow process. The internet changed that. The internet made it so you could hop on Google, you could go to Wikipedia, and in just a few minutes go from not knowing what something was called to figuring out its name. Something that took hours before, you know, traveling to the library and hunting and finding books and then paging through them, now is something that you could figure out in a few minutes. AI has taken that even further because, again, what it used to be, circa like 2 years ago, is you would Google search and you would find tons and tons of websites. And again, like you'd quickly figure out what the terms were, and you'd find Wikipedia, you'd read the Wikipedia article, you'd wrap your brain around the concepts that you wanted to learn about. But then you would start searching those concepts and you'd find, you know, I don't know, a dozen websites, or a dozen news articles, or a dozen internet resources. And then you would troll through those until you started to like collect the wisdom in your brain that they all had. AI, that wisdom gathering, AI does almost instantaneously. So you can ask it sort of a vague question of something you want to learn about, and it'll give you all that wisdom presented right to you. So I would say learning to code, you could do that really quickly with AI tools. Now, it's still a journey. It's not the kind of thing of, well, great, AI can just do it for me, so people don't need to learn to code anymore. I think there is still a lot that you need to learn. But that journey is an easier path now. You no longer necessarily need a university professor or a wise sage senior engineer looking over your shoulder to get to, if we say there's junior devs, intermediate devs, and senior devs, let's just say all engineers fall into those three categories. You're either junior, intermediate, or senior. I think going from 0 to junior is something you can easily do with just AI. Going from junior to an intermediate engineer, I think you could probably do it with AI, but it'll be a bit harder, and the AI might not be able to call you out on the things you don't know you need to know, because the AI, it might not be able to tell you, like, hey, you're not asking the right question. So it may help to have a more experienced engineer to help you with those bits of things. But no, I definitely think you can learn how to make things. Yes. I mean, AI has already made... hey, Minecraft man, how you doing? AI has already made it so that like a lot of the low-code, no-code tools are a lot easier now. So if I was learning to code right now, I would probably use no-code or low-code tools, but ones that give you code as a result. And then, so you could go to something like Replit. I think Replit gives you code that you can actually then download and run it on your own server. So, assuming it does, I would use a tool like that to generate an app, and then I would use AI tools to help me understand that code and to make improvements and changes to that code, and just make it problem-based learning. Learn by building something. And yep, it's going to be garbage. There are going to be mistakes made. A more experienced engineer might look at it and like just see all the flaws and things. But hey, if it works and it solves a problem, I mean, that's what we do coding for. I'm basically, I mean, this looks like gibberish maybe to some people, but I'm writing English. There are nouns, verbs, and adjectives. I am using language to tell a computer to do a thing. And as long as the outcome is met, as long as the computer does the thing that I asked it to do, then it's a form of coding. It is funny to me, you might be sick. Oh, that's not good, man. Sorry to hear that. It is funny to hear like the whole, you don't need software engineers anymore because you can just prompt code everything, like vibe code it. And then you hear the vibe coders start learning hard lessons like, oh, well, you need version control, and you need a staging environment, and you need tests, and you need these other things. And it's like, yep, that's all part of it too. You're still coding. You're just, you can't gloss it over and make it, it's not a magic wand. AI doesn't do the magic wand thing. You're still coding. It's just a different form of coding. There are old graybeard software engineers who would look at this and say, oh, this isn't code. You're not garbage collecting, and, there's no curly braces and semicolons and, I don't know, like all the other, like, ugly things you used to have to do with a lot of coding languages. It's like, it's still coding. So no, I would say yes, it is very easy. It's problem solving. Yeah, you like solving problems and finding best ways to do something. My definition of an engineer is not somebody who has a certain degree or who formally learned how to do a thing. It's, do you have that problem solving mindset? When something doesn't work, like, some app doesn't work for you, some people just get frustrated, throw their hands up in the air, and storm off. I mean, we all get frustrated when things don't work the way we want them to. But I think the difference between that and an engineer is the engineer gets annoyed and frustrated and says, this stupid thing, why doesn't it work? And then they flip open the hood and start poking around and trying to understand why it doesn't work. That's that engineering mindset. And I've met a lot of people in my career who learned how to code, but don't have the engineering mindset. If things aren't easy, they immediately get annoyed and storm off. And then I've met other people who don't call themselves engineers, but you meet them and they've like glued together like a very complicated formula in Excel or Google Docs. And they've got all these cells that call each other, and they built all these formulas. And you talk to them like, oh yeah, but I'm not an engineer. I'm like, what you've built here is definitely, you're coding. You don't realize you're writing code, but you're writing code. Yeah, AI isn't good about that. I tried it and it failed horribly. The chat and stream is delayed by a minute. Why is that? I wonder if it, like, I had suspect. I'm glad you said that. I've suspected that for a while. I'd wondered about that for YouTube for a while, because the stream preview I have for YouTube has always seemed. So I just clicked the live button, but it should have always been there. I don't. YouTube seems weird about that. I wonder if Twitch is like better. I sent you that message 2 minutes ago when I heard. Okay, well, to be fair, I don't really know how to do this properly. So, also when I'm coding, I oftentimes can't see what people are saying. So, yeah, I got to get better about that. I have to learn, but don't be surprised if there's a delay in me responding. So you sent that message 2 minutes ago. Well, I think I just got that. So, unless that message you just sent about the 2 minute ago message also is 2 minutes delayed. And you can tell me about that in 6 minutes, and then I'll believe you. Twitch has about 15 seconds latency. Okay. It's fine, no problem. Okay. So it's not the stream that's the fault. It's me. I'm just a little slow. Yeah, you triggered me, Scroll, with your question about is it hard to learn to code? I think the answer is both yes and no. It is easy to learn how to code, but it is not something that I think the mistake that a lot of people in school make with coding is they think they're like a plumber. They'll learn how to code, and then they'll get a job, and then they'll just rake in the money and punch the clock till retirement. And that is not the case, because the tools and things that you use today will change in 5 years, and you will need to learn and adapt and continue to grow as an engineer. And if you don't do that, you will be unemployed in 5 to 10 years. Yeah, Minecraft. Yeah, I guess I don't know how to do merge chat. I'm sure there's a way, but I've got YouTube chat and I got Twitch chat, and I got people in both asking questions. So that's probably the confusion as to why you don't see the chat from Scroll. So I got Minecraft Man and Scroll are the two chatters. Okay, so for this, I think I'm going to abandon this for the moment, because this is in the test suite, and I don't need a test suite test. Yeah, I popped out YouTube chat. I don't have that for Twitch. So, I mean, I could probably, what I probably should do, because up until now, for the past few months, I've had people dip in and out of chat, but I haven't really had anybody hang around for too long. I know a lot of YouTubers, like I'm using OBS, so I know a lot of streamers will put the chat in there, so it'll just be like persistent on the screen of what the chat is, and then you can do unified chat where it merges the messages from YouTube and Twitch. I probably should set that up. It's probably about time. Because, yeah, for several streams now, I've had somebody constantly hanging out and asking questions. All right, so I do need to do this, but I'm not going to do it in a test suite. My test suite's going to be for just... Well, maybe it is the test. No, yeah, I'm not going to do this in the test suite. There's no reason to. Because it's a visual thing that I'm testing. I mean, I can watch on Twitch if you want. Hey, it's your choice, man. Whichever platform you want to use. I mean, I've got both up. Yeah, I will take this as a task to fix my setup. Okay, I'm testing something visual, so it doesn't make sense to make this an automated test. I don't think I should ever make this an automated test, come to think of it, so let me delete this. At least not for now. I don't need an automated test around Hawker for the moment. At least not one that's file-based. So I guess for now, I mean, this isn't called from anywhere, so it doesn't matter. Let me go to page text. Let me bring this in here. So I'm going to load that in. Oh, shoot. Well, that's fine. I deleted something I didn't want to delete. Let's go to my last test result, which is this test scenario. And let me grab this file again. And I'll go to testing, test cases, and I'll just dump it here. So what is that? Testing, test cases. Test cases. Cool. So that should work. That should be the file path to this file. Once it's loaded in, this is going to be a different function. So this is going to be func on new page ready. I don't know, whatever we want to call it. Void is the return. Hey, look at that. You're in Twitch. 879, but you're 87 on YouTube. You still use Scratch? It's coding. If you're solving problems, I'm never going to be the kind of engineer who's like, oh, well, you're just using like this petty little language over here. You're not a real engineer. You can use Scratch. Yeah, I know. Name was taken. Yeah, that's why you'll see on like YouTube and Twitch, I'm like Udes underscore versus like a different thing. I've tried to normalize it, but sadly, yeah, my name was pretty... I thought I had picked an obscure thing, but I think my name is popular in Greece or something, so somebody keeps taking it on a lot of services. Scratch is coding. If you want to step up from that, I would suggest Python. Python looks a lot like this. So it's very forgiving in the sense that as long as your indentation is right, you can do a for loop. So, I mean, if you guys want, I can go... I mean, I've been kind of just coding at my own pace. But if you want, I can explain some of these things, like what's going on with this for loop here. Let's see here. So on that, okay, the book text had its thing, right? So it set up a signal. I'll set up that same signal here on ready. So I'll load this in, and this is just for testing. But let me set up that signal. Here, I'll use the same name just to reuse it to be consistent. So whenever we get new text, whenever that signal comes in from game state, we'll call this function. And page text updated. I guess I can just go, I don't need to pass it through as a parameter. I guess I can do the same thing here. Would you like to see one of the things I've made? I mean, you're happy to drop a link in chat if you want. Obviously, with streaming, I get tons of people dipping into chat to, like, promote some product to get me a bunch of fake followers, and I immediately block those people, but I can tell you're not. Cool. Scratch.mit.edu. Let me take a look at this. See, I don't have well, okay. I can't bring it up on the stream, but how do I? Yeah, buy free views. I don't need free views. I'm not doing this to become internet famous or anything. I'm doing it for myself. What is this doing? Why is this? I, for some reason, can't click this in the app, which is annoying. Let me do... Oh, there we go. I can do it over here at least. Yeah, let's take a look. Uses camera. Okay. I don't have a camera connected here right now. Camera motion graph maker. So what does it do then? Like when it makes a graph? Uses motion and turns it into a graph. Like what does that mean, like into a graph? Like is it a line graph, a bar graph? Is it a heat map, kind of like a Predator style hunting you graph? Like what kind of graph is that? Live graphic goes higher the more movement there. Oh, okay, cool. So it's just if there's movement, then the bar, line graph. Yeah, the live graph. Obviously, it's live as things happen. It's updating. Okay, line graph. Cool. That goes higher the more movement there is. Okay, cool. Very cool. So let's see here. So on ready, we'll connect that, and then yeah, so that's connected. So what I can do then on that update is I can do so that's OCR manager. It gets a page here, right? Add page. So I'm just going to temporarily throw this up here. And we'll do whatever var current page, which is of type, well, OCR manager page. Let's do that. And when we get it, I'll just say current page equals new page. Done. So when we get that signal, once the signal's triggered, that means we've got a page. So var page dot OCR page equals game state dot current page. So now I've got that object, which is going to be this class here that I've created. And the class is going to be made up of, it's a page that's made up of lines. That's an array of type line. And those line instances also has an array of words. And each one of those words has its text and its bounding box. And the bounding box is what I care about. So this is where, so what I'm doing is I'm already able to OCR text from the headset. Let me see if I have I could probably demo this briefly if you guys want to see it. But basically it uses the cameras on the front of the VR headset to take a picture of a book that you're holding in your hands. It OCRs that text, and now I want to display it back in the app. The problem is it just gets displayed as a text blob. This B box, though, is the bounding box for that piece of text. So it knows where it's located in, like, within the image. So that means if it's the beginning of a new paragraph and it's indented a little bit, well, hey, it knows about that indentation because of the bounding box. My raw text just displaying it, which is what the app currently does, it's just a text blob. I mean, yes, it has it per line, so each line is on its own row. But indentation, gaps between paragraphs, none of that gets picked up. So I want to be a little smarter, and instead of dumping the whole thing, now what I want to do is loop over page. So for let's go crazy. Let's break things. Line of type C. Okay, fine. Maybe I'll have to. I hate having to have, that's so long and ugly. I don't like it, but I'm not refactoring right now. OCR manager dot OCR line in page dot lines, and then for word, which is going to be OCR manager dot OCR word in line dot words, and then we should have var bebop or var, well, let's just tab that in. I don't need the print anymore. Kill that. We'll duplicate our default. That works now, I think. I think this worked. And then we will do, our text is the word dot text. And then I wonder, so I've got the label here. You also made a sound graph maker if you want to see it. Maybe not right now. But by all means, drop a link in and I will take a look a little bit later. I kind of want to get some work done. Trying to make progress on this thing. Okay, so we have our label, and the label is going to have its position. So, what is it? Word.bbox. I'm going to have to see about how to display that. So if I do refresh here, that is a little bit annoying that I have to like redo everything. Let's see. Anything break? I thought on ready. Oh, I'm not doing anything with it. Right. So OCR manager dot do I have OCR manager here? How do I call that? OCR manager. Main doesn't do that. Does it just, what, it set itself up? How does this work? Again, it's been so long since I looked at this code. Or game state, the singleton, does it set it up? Oh, I already had page 1 here. It's also an onReady, which seems like it doesn't need to be. Okay, that's dumb. So let me delete that. And let me delete this. And I'll go here. And it should just be page 1. Since I was already doing it. So what do we have? Yeah, I used to have the OCR manager initialized as a new instance. I don't think I need to do that anymore. Okay, that was the merge page logic, which I'm not using right now. And that's it. So I think this just sets itself up. Because it would either be in main or game state. Those are the only two places I'm doing things like this. Highlighting your message for no reason. No, you're not being distracting. It's fine. I actually, it does help to know that somebody's hanging out with me. So, but no, you're good. No worries. I just reserve the right to ignore from time to time so I can make some progress. All right, this is annoying. So, okay, where is this function? Yeah, I should be able to call this, right? Fine, let me just steal it. And we'll just pass the number 1. I don't know if this is going to work. It should work. Test suite had that, right? File. Where else was I using file stuff? Get text. Right, so this is going to be a string of text. Right, because this is text. Gotcha. Okay. You ever heard of Hardware Gore subreddit? Nope, never heard of it. Cannot call non-static function on OCR manager. Okay, fine. Let me borrow this. Again, this is all temp code. I'm going to throw this away anyway. I just need to test this. So we'll just create a new OCR manager and call this on that. Hey, look, it works. So in theory, if I refresh now, this should work. And yet it did not. And yes, it did. Look at that. There's the text. Wait, it ran twice? That's odd. Why would it run twice? Well, let me just make sure this is only being called once. So GameState.log in ready for OCR Docker loading. Let's try that again. Well, I don't need to zoom in. If it's there, I'll be able to see it. Okay, so in ready. So that means we set it. And then we immediately initialize the backend text scanner. And then we call it again? Oh, I've got this script attached in 2 places. That's why. I just need it on the debug HUD for now, so let me think. Well, that's debug HUD. If I go back to main, I think it's in the book scene, right? Yeah, let's just detach it from there. And then if we go back to the debug HUD, it still has that script attached to this node. And so now it should only do it once. In fact, for the moment, I don't even need to see the result. I just need to see this down here. There we go. Okay, only did it once. Great. Now let's see. So that worked. And page text updated connected. Let's do this. So adding children to scene. Let's call that. But clearly, I mean, we're logging this. So we did get to this bit of code here. Here, let's hide that. This function is not even used right now. Yeah. So we're doing this. Oh, that's right. I turned off the signal because I thought I didn't need it, but I do need it. Now it's gonna work. Whoa. Well, that's a happy accident. So that's the OCR text. So actually, even though I'm not running the headset right now, this gives you a good example of what it currently does in the headset. So this is a happy accident. I'm kind of glad it did it because this will be nice for me to see on the right-hand side what it currently would do in the headset. So I can tell you like right now, actually, let me open the book in front of me, the test book that I'm using. Yeah, so the word to here should be indented by a little bit. It should be more about where the word, where like the T is here. It should be indented to like there. And then down here, whole product, that should be indented. There's no gap. So unfortunately, this isn't the best page to test vertical gaps and separations. Or like headings, for instance. There's no headings in this text, so I can't see like if this code works the way I expect it. The only measurement I have right now is there an indentation here and is there an indentation down there. But for other pages I could scan, you might have like a title that gets centered over the paragraph. There may be gaps between paragraphs. Yeah, so that's fine. That's good enough for me to test for now. And hey, look, there's all the words all stacked on each other. So now I just got to get them to more align. I never knew what children was for. You know, I think it's in coding. It's just like a shorthand way of saying that like this thing here is underneath that one there. So this is the parent and this is the child. And so it's just a basic, you know, in like more mathy circles of comp sci, they might do like, oh, it's, well, you're traversing the tree and you're going up the tree versus down the tree. You know, I think it's just parent-child is like an easier way to say it. So, you know, you can get things quite complicated. This isn't even complicated, but, you know, we're a couple layers deep here. So I can say like get parent, and it'll, if I have a script attached to this. So if we look at our script, let's go to our simple script. So a lot of things here, like you'll see I'm doing like, actually, let's look at this one. So you see I'm doing self.font and self.text. In GDScript, that's implied. So I don't need the self here. I could just do font size. From other coding languages I've worked in, I'm just comfortable doing self because I know self is this. So this script is attached to this label 3D. So in Godot, anything that you could call self on, self.text, self.font size, these are properties of the node. So basically anything over here should be accessible from self. So self, these are all the properties for this node. And they're all accessible, right? Now I can do things like, so self is a thing. So now you know self, this is a mesh instance 3D. because this is attached a little differently. It's not on the book now, it's on here. This is a mesh instance 3D. This is where I've attached this script to. So self in this case is this one. So you can see, like, I'm adding child. So I'm adding, right now this has a page text, a label 3D on it. I am duplicating the existing label 3D. I'm actually hiding it. So this is where so get node is really just going to get child nodes. So page text is a child node underneath the current node. I'm getting that node, and I'm telling it to hide itself, which is basically doing this. Clicking that button, which, if we go to 3D scene, I can, like, hide and show that way. Actually, if I click it here, it'll immediately show up over here. So you can see it's gone. And if I click it again, now it's back. Oh, weird. So put it... Oh, because it's when I show it again, it does the default text, which is going to pull from here. Okay, that's fine. So that's all to say that that's the child node here. But I can do things like self.getParent. And if I do self.getParent, it's actually going to be this debug HUD, this node 3D. But you could keep going. You could do getParent, getParent. Well, you actually using getChild. So I did getNode. I think getNode is just get any node, but I could probably do self.getChild. And that's looking for an integer. Okay, well, that's going to be a little bit different then. But anyway, you could do getParent.getParent, and then you would just be walking up through the tree to keep getting the parent above. I do use GitHub sometimes. Good. There's a lot of... it's always funny to me. Just depending on the discipline, a lot of game devs don't use things like GitHub because they don't know that they should. And so a lot of them are just backing up their work by copying and pasting files on their local machine. GitHub is much more stable way to use that. Although I'm curious what's going to happen with the latest news out of Microsoft. I hear a lot of people might be moving off of GitHub? Question mark. Okay, so now how do I use the bbox info? So this, let me go back and remind myself what I'm doing with the bbox. So get bbox values. So we have our title. Can I open this with... Fine, let's open it that way. And let's bring it over to here. No, thank you. Okay, so this is what the Hawker looks like. It's an XML document. It comes back from Tesseract OCR. And basically it's a way of saying, hey, within this page, so you can see class, here's page, we have a line. You can see we got a bunch of lines here. In fact, I can collapse these down. You can just see how many lines there are. And within this line, it has a word. And the word is to. Put it simply. So each word has all this extra data. And it has this bbox info. And so I'm extracting that. So again, this is all about the text here that it is pulling out from the image. I'm making a dial thing that lets you change purports of sound like bass, treble, pitch, and speed. Interesting. So it sounds like you do a lot of music stuff. All right, now what is the bbox info here? Okay, so to get bbox info, I've got the title. Title's what we pulled out of this line here. So it's going to be the entire contents here, which isn't always bbox because it's also the confidence. Confidence is like how confident was Tesseract that it did a good job. So it's very confident that this word is put. It's mostly confident this is the word to. It's not at all confident that this is sales driven, which is correct because that is a typo. Those should be two separate words. So it's doing a pretty good at confidence there. I've been meaning to use those scores as part of my test suite, which there's no reason why I can't do that. I did do it in Python when I was doing some prototyping, but I never pulled that over into the C++ code. I should do that because that'll help things. Properties. Change properties, yeah. Let's see. Okay, so I'm basically splitting on the semicolon, getting the first element, ripping out the edges, and splitting on space to get. Which, if that's confusing, because I can definitely see this being confusing for anyone who hasn't done it before. And basically, when I get the title, it's this big long string here. I'm saying split on the semicolon. So that means then we're going to have a list. Element 0 in the list is going to be this. Element 1 will be that. We're saying get the 0th element from that list, which is this here. So that's that 0th element. Strip edges, I shouldn't have to do, but that's basically saying remove white space from the beginning and the end, just in case there happens to be accidentally extra white space there. And then split on the space. And if we split on space, then we have a new array, which is the first element's, the 0th element's going to be the word bbox, and then we'll have these 4 numbers as a list. So that's what all this is doing, this whole line here. So we're going to loop over, doing a for loop over those things. If it's a valid int, so again, we're not going to care about bbox, then we append it to our result and we make it an integer because it is a string, in fact. So it's a string, and for strings we can check to see if they're valid integers, meaning is it only numbers, there's no letters in there. So if it is a valid integer, then add it to our final result. Okay, so I'm getting them in order. I'm not changing the order of them. Let me call up friendly neighborhood AI. Row sum binary row sum. What was this again? Oh, right. Okay, fine. New chat. I have bbox info for a word found by Tesseract OCR. As an example, this line we'll give it consequences. As an example, I am taking this line and parsing it out as an array of integers in Godot 4.5, which let's see. Why is that? Okay. As an array of integers in Godot 4.5. We'll do in parentheses here. How can I take those values and use them to choose where to display a label 3D? Let's just see what it says. To use bbox coordinates from Tesseract OCR to position a label 3D in Godot, you'll need to understand that bbox values represent 2D screen image coordinates while label 3D exists in 3D space. Here's how to approach this. Understand the bbox format. Represents left x coordinate, top y coordinate, right x coordinate, so it's the upper left hand corner of the box, the lower right hand corner of the box. So basic positioning approach. Calculate center point for the bounding box. Okay. Get your label 3D, sure. If you're working with a UI overlay, option 2, if you need to scale offset the coordinate. Viewport projection. Yeah, I'm not doing any of that. Just so it's saying get the center and X and Y point and then send it to its center. That's probably fine. That might end up with some weird spacing, but maybe that's for the best. I went def, never turn treble all the way up. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not much of a music person, so I don't really know how to do any of that correctly. Can you open a port on another network? I mean, from my network, open someone else's port? I could probably figure it out. I haven't done much network security stuff, if that's what you're asking. Or like hacking or anything like that. I haven't done too much of that. Not in a long time, anyway. But handling like port configuration on a server, sure. No, not like hacked, but like network security stuff. I've done like a little bit of that kind of stuff, and like security training to properly configure servers to prevent them from getting hacked. But no, I'm not. I would never. I don't think I would ever have called myself a hacker. What? I didn't click that. No. Remove bookmark. Thank you. Not in, I mean, maybe in like the indie hacker sense of the word, in the taking electronics apart and building things with duct tape, that form of hacker, but not network hacker. I can only figure out how to run my code on a port and not a URL or locally. On a port and not a URL or locally. Yeah, so you're talking about like you've built something and you want to host it. If you want to host something temporarily, and by temporarily I mean for like 15 minutes as you share it with a friend, I would use ngrok. Ngrok is pretty awesome. It's a great way to, like, it's free. You install it, and then it lets you basically take something that's running on localhost locally, and it gives you a URL. And so if you have something running on your local and you want a friend to test it, you can use ngrok to expose that to the internet and send them the link. It is something that you do not want to do this to host a service. You do not want to run something on localhost and then use an ngrok URL to publish it to the internet. I would not do that ever. But it is great for quick, rapid testing when you're collaborating with a team and you've got something that's only running on your local that you want to share with somebody else. If you're actually talking about actually hosting something, well, then that's its own rabbit hole of how do you go about hosting things. All right, let me take these two things here. I probably should actually compute them here, and instead of the bbox info, like while it's here, do the compute. I don't know if it really matters. Let's do it at render time. So now that we're here, so we will do, should be word.bbox, right? I think it's word.bbox. Oh, it's complaining because was that float? You know what? Let me do integer. Let's do an int. And then here we can do an int. So we'll set its type to be an integer. And then we'll do an int here. Cool. So now we have our center XY based on the bbox. That's really the thing I needed. I just needed to know. I couldn't quite remember what the bbox represented. So yeah, it's the upper left-hand corner followed by like the lower right-hand corner. So these are the two X's and these are the two Y's. So when you average them, you can get that crosshair center point. GitHub has GitHub Pages, but I can't figure out how to make it work, so I've been working on that a lot the past week. GitHub Pages is a good start. Yeah, I mean, that's a good starting point, I would definitely say. And it's useful to learn. I mean, there's so many scenarios where you just want some simple, basic thing that you want to put out on the internet. And so the ability to put it up on GitHub and host it with GitHub Pages is a good first start. As long as you don't have an app that requires login with user passwords and things like that, GitHub Pages is a good starting point. It might be limited. Trying to think. No, you should be able to run. I mean, if you've got like a little app that you've built for yourself that does audio visualization, as long as it's all browser based and everything's going to be in JavaScript or even like, React or Vue.js or something like that, you should be able to do it all with GitHub Pages. So for any toy prototypes you're putting out into the world, that should work. All right, taking a breath. Done with coffee, switching to water. Right. What's the AI saying now? So it's saying, hey, once you've got that, we can change its position. I don't think this is what I want, but let's do it and let's break it. Let's make something look ugly. Let's do label. Yeah, let's see what that does. It's going to be horrible, and I can't wait. No. Data didn't work. I have a theory. No, I didn't ask you to do that. Stop. Go over here. If I go to, what is this? This is the debug HUD. And I go to this one. That's positioning. Let's do 0.057. And refresh. I think it's just hidden in the page. No? Still no? That is disappointing. Alright, well, where are you then? Let's go look at the remote. And if we look at our camera, go to the debug HUD, go look at our page 1. Here's all of our labels. I can hide, show that, right? Okay. Right, so that's that text there. Oh. And I can hide that again. And it's gone. Let me click on that label. With the label selected, actually, it should show me where in the world it is. curious. What does it say its position is? I mean, it's got the right font. It's got the right font size. It picked up all those properties. Whoa. 300 meters? That's gonna be a problem. Where are you positioned? -3 meters. -1.98. Okay. So what I should do is get its X, Y, and Z. So let's do var default X Y and Z. And we're going to get those from default label dot position dot X. Ah, that works. Okay. Y and Z. Now, we are going to home this. So Z is not going to change. So we're not going to change that. What I want to do is basically say that, like, hey, like this default, like, okay, let's do var X offset int var Y offset int. And then what I can do is I can say if not X offset, just need to check one of them for now. X offset equals let's try that. Default X minus center X. And we'll do Y offset. Basically, we're going to end up with like a really low number. And then we will do, let's try this. Plus. And we'll do Y offset. So in theory, what we're basically saying is like, look, I get that this number is some big 300-digit number. I don't really care about that. The first text box that comes in is zeroed out. We're zeroing it out. And then every other word is relative to that, because the next word that comes in is going to be a teeny tiny bit further along than the previous one. And so I think that I can already see some problems with this approach, but I think this is a good start. And I may have done it backward, so we may be off into the ether. No, again, I asked you not to do that. Go over here. If I get one of my older projects working, can you help me test it maybe? Maybe. I mean, I'll at least take a brief look at it. But yeah. Happy to put eyes on something if I can. All right, let's go look at the remote world. Let's take a look at this again. Where did you end up? Interesting. That shouldn't be right. Wait, let me kill this. Let's stop it and run it again. So, we're in the debug HUD. This is hidden, and its position is... But again, the Z... Oh. It's not an integer. Right. Floats. Floats all around. It's got to be a... Fine. Are those integers? What do we end up with? Yeah, they're all integers. Okay. So that's fine. So then we get an integer for those. We subtract them off. We end up with floats. Those are our floats. Okay. Wait, something happened. We got something. 2. Got the word 2. Oh my lord. It worked for the word 2. But everything else went crazy. So, what happened to... So 2... 1.985, 1.985, 3406, 3406. Hey, look at that. Perfect. The word 2 is exactly where it should be. Okay, the second word, put, ends up way far off from where it should be. All right, so I think I need to convert. I have to do some sort of conversion here because the step size is too big. That's the problem. Green name now, okay? Here, let me take a brief breather for 1 second. Take a sip of water. Basic positioning works for just setting X and Y. I'm using Z from a default label that is sitting at the correct location. The issue now is that label position is, what is it? What is the issue? It's like meters, right? I guess is on a different scale than the B boxes. So I can zero out the first word that comes in and make its position the same as the placeholder default label, but then each word after that is in a very wrong location as the number steps are much bigger after factoring in the offset. Thoughts? All right, so I probably just need to like scale down those numbers, maybe like scale them down to something that makes sense, like preemptively. So just divide all those numbers by 100 or 1,000 or whatever is gonna get them down to where I need them to be. That's probably what needs to happen. VBox coordinates are in image document pixels, but your 3D scene uses a different unit scale. Yeah, exactly. You need to calculate a scale factor to convert between the two coordinate systems. Here's how to solve that. All right, so we have our default. Yep, it's basically what I'm doing. Yeah, that's like the VBox for that same word. Yeah, whatever that is, sure. So we're still getting the center X and Y. Okay, so it's saying just do a scale. Two different points. You'll need to identify these in your OCR results. Huh? No, I'm not going to do that. Not right now, anyway. So we multiply by the scale. Fine. Easy enough. I don't need to. I love how AIs love to, like, overcomplicate things. Var scale int equals 0.1. AIs love to complicate things. They love to give you like the super sophisticated version of something that really just shouldn't. Why is that different highlighted? I think scale, self.scale, this is probably accidentally self.scale. Let's call it scale factor. There we go. I think I was accidentally clashing with a reserved word. So if I do that, actually, that's not what I needed to do. The offset doesn't change. I should do var new x float equals var new y float equals, and then this should be basically that. Maybe I don't need the offset. Well, yeah, I think maybe I just need to do yeah, but that's gonna scale it though. Actually, I probably do need to do this, right? So we're going to take the value coming in, we'll scale it down, and then we'll subtract it off, and that's the offset. Then when we do it again, so again, for the first one, we'll just compute it twice, right? The result will be zeroed out for the first one, but for all others, they'll just be off by They'll just be off by a teeny bit instead of a huge bit. There. Now if I rerun this, we just had a power fluctuation. I also 3D model. What do you 3D model? What have you been working on? It was made in a phone app. Was it? All right, now we've lost everything. Where did we lose it to? Let's go look at the remote scene. And again, this position, can I collapse these? I thought Godot, don't think I have that yet, but Godot I thought had a thing where you could hide things by default. Right, all pretty small, like 1.9, 3.4. Where do we end up? Still too big. I am multiplying by the wrong thing. That is why. Well, that was stupid. Okay, so it's going to be default x minus center x times scale factor. That's what it should be. Because we are scaling these big numbers that are coming in, and then we are offsetting them. Okay. So if I do that, now maybe we'll put them in the right spot. Yeah, that's the profile pic. But I didn't make it in a phone app. I don't know why it has that header and footer that you happen to have. I don't know why it did that for you. Do you play Minecraft Java? I don't play Minecraft. Oh, you Google searched it. It was generated from a... where did I pull it from? If you go look at like the original source for it, it's an image that's floating around out there. Okay, well they all ended up there. Where did they end up on position-wise? So was that 198, 3.4? 406, 985. So they literally ended up with the same exact value. So does that mean this offset's getting changed every time? Oh, I forgot the offset. Wait, really? Yeah, I mean, I'm computing the offset, but I'm not using it. Right, because I was doing too much copying and pasting and moving too fast. So maybe it should be that. Again, it did the same thing. What am I doing wrong? Let me think here. So our default X and Y is going to be that really small number coming back. We're taking the new number. We're multiplying it by the scale factor. So we're scaling down that number. Which in this case, I mean, we're talking about like a number like 300. So we're making that smaller. And then we're subtracting it out. And that gets us our offset. Why is my brain struggling with this? Let's see. I mean, in theory, after we scale it down, we would subtract the offset. So we would scale it down to a smaller size. I mean, I think ideally it would look like that, right? We would just remove the offset. And for this, we're saying, hey, we scale it down. And we're saying its start location. Because if we take the start location and we subtract this out, then we end up with like a net, like let's say the start location's at 0.1, and we scale this down to, I don't know, whatever it is. 1 minus that number gets us this. And then when we do that math again, scale it down, we subtract that out. We should end up, for the first one, back at 0, basically. Is that true? No, we should end up back at the start location. But for all others, then they would be off by a little bit. And that's not what's happening. Instead, they end up down there. Why is that? What am I doing wrong here? Well, I can do practical numbers, right? So I already know we're at like what, 198. Here, let's do practical numbers. So x is negative 1.985. Y equals 3.406. And then z is, well, z doesn't matter. If we go look at Hocker results, let's take these two. Okay, and let's just pull in that title. Might as well. So, for the first one, can I do a block comment? Yes, I can. Sweet. Let's do it. So for the first one, we're going to do center x equals, it's going to be 305 plus, so that's 0, 1, 2, 382 divided by 2. And then we'll do center y equals 262 plus 340 divided by 2. Okay. And then, so then we'll have that. So then we're going to say, like, well, can I do that math? So just do a quick calculator. What is it? 305 plus 382 divide 2. Okay, so this one's going to equal to 343.5 262 plus 340 divide 2. Wait, what? $301. Is that right? Did I do that right? Hold on. 262 plus 340. Yeah. Okay. And then we're going to do, so we got that. So those are the centers. And then I'll do x offset equals default, which again we know is negative 1.985 minus 343.5 times, in this case, what, 0.1? Where's our, yeah, scale, 0.1. Which really should be 1, 2, probably should be 0.01, which would then equal negative 3.435. That's what it should do. So if we just did the x one then, so we would say like new x equals well, that's the offset. Why is my brain breaking on this? Let's do that here. So then what would these be? Clear that out. So it's what? 414 plus 539 divided by 2. So it's 476.5. I mean, I'm not even going to care about. Hate to hear that you're sick, man. Sorry to hear about that. All right, let's just not even do the y for now. So for this one, new x is going to be, for this other one gets zeroed out. It always does. That's a guarantee. So we're going to multiply it by 0.01. So we're going to end up with 4.765. Probably should add the offset. Well, I guess in this case, we're going to minus a minus, so we're going to add. Yeah, okay, fine. Let's add the offset. So what if I do that? Add the offset back in. Is it just not doing anything? Like, what is it? I'm confused. That one should be zeroed out, so 985, 1985. 1985. It is not. I am so confused. Yeah, hopefully it's a short sickness. We are doing this on a new word every time. 4 word in lines. Let me do. Let's log this. And we'll do word position. And we'll do string new x plus, do a comma, string new y. Let's try that again. And now I should have they're all the same. 320 lines that are identical. Why? I'm guessing. Fine, let's do that. Let's say if it equals 0, and let's rerun that. I should get like 1,000,000 log lines, and I'm not. It's just doing the same thing over and over again. Why would that be? Recomputing offset. Is it just recomputing the offset every single time? No, it only recomputes it once. Am I doing something dumb? We duplicate but every single one of these is this is driving me mad. Beam state dot like the I love it when things are broken like this because it really once you finally figure out what's going on, it's like an aha moment, which always feels good, but in the moment it feels terrible. Working on plus word.text. Okay. Do a pipe. And we'll stringify the word dot bbox. Output overflow. Print less text. Right, so word position, fine. Working on put at those values. Working on it at those values. So the values are changing. So let me comment that out. Somehow I have to conclude then that the math always results in the same value every time. But that shouldn't be the case. And yet it must be. Because I only log the recomputing offset once. We can do gamestate.log. Offset is do string x offset plus okay, so there's our offset. We only compute it once, and then we go into this loop. So somehow then, and I was already confirming that the bbox info changed. It's about time for me to end this stream, but I did want to get something done. I wanted to get this done before I stop. Hold on one second. Yeah, because I got to grab lunch and then I have a client meeting. So I wanted this dumb math is really taking me off. Okay. So we're taking the new value, which we know is different every time. I mean, we're picking the equidistance between these two values, right? So it's going to be different every time. And then we scale it down. So in this case, we went from 3.4. Yeah, we went from 3.4 to 4.7. So 4.7. I mean, this is a negative number. It really should be a positive number. So I should be subtracting that out. So if we subtract out 4 points, working on fine, let's do that, and we'll do I hate when it does that. It's so annoying. It's not what I asked you to do at all, and you did it. Okay. String center Y so ugly to have to do this logging, but that's fine. New Y. And then we have to cap it off. There we go. What do we see? It's like the values are changing. This is hilarious. What if I do this? Still no change. Let's get rid of that. Try again. Zero. So when we scale it, don't tell me that Godot has some sort of weird issue about multiplying between integers and floats. Scale factor is 0. Oh my lord. There's no issue with Godot. It's an ID10T problem. Yeah. I think with that I'm gonna, bow my head in shame, and we shall not speak of this again. Okay. It's working. I mean, the math is off, but wow, that was dumb. Okay. Okay, so then we end up with let's do new X. Try this again. I want to see. I think we're just making too big of jumps. Yeah, so that one's correct. Yeah, see, we're jumping by like 10. 20. Oh yeah, I already knew I had to, sorry, I never adjusted this. So that should at least get us in the right ballpark. But I think even then it'll be... Yeah, 2 put. Okay. Let's go 2. From here, okay, this is what I wanted. I didn't want to have to do math. I wanted to just like tweak it in. Okay, that made it worse. I wanted to just tweak it in and figure it out from there. Better. Let's go 5. To put, okay, it's getting much better. Yeah, we gotta go smaller. Wow, I didn't think I was going to have to get that small, but okay. Yeah, we didn't want to go that small. Okay, so it's 1.5. Yeah, too much, but that's okay. I'm fine with the gaps. So the Y's are going to have to go in the other direction. Is that it? Reimagine blah 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 .app.github.dev. All right. Yeah, I mean, I'll take a look. Just not right this moment. Interesting that it did it that way. Because the first one should have still been in the same position. What I should do is I should do this. Label.text plus. And now if we refresh that, oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, well now I don't need all the extra detail. So I just need the new one. So I don't need this anymore because I know that's working. Can I just see this more clearly? So when I need -3.4 is not where it's supposed to be, right? Because it should be +3.4. Right, I'll leave this math here in case I want to use it, but all right, I gotta futz with these things a little bit, but we're getting close. One thing I'm not liking is I don't know. Something's off. I feel like once I figure out that math a little bit, it's not going to be good. Like the words are going to be in weird positions. So it's like more than one, like than is a little bit lower. So I think there's going to be noise. I might be able to remove that noise though and get smooth text. All right. Where is this one? Oh. Yeah, like to put it, why is it so off? Like it and then a huge gap and then simply? That seems weird. Okay. These bounding boxes, you know, I can actually display this in a browser to see what it would show. All right, well, I'm not going to do that now. I got to go grab lunch and got to go do things. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me. Minecraft Man, hope you feel better. And I will chat with you all later. Not today. Yeah, no. I will probably stream again on Monday. Today's Wednesday, right? Yeah, Monday, Wednesday mornings, my time, is when I typically stream. So, all right, man. Cheers.